After doubling housing costs and inflating food prices 37% faster in Canada than in the United States, with inflationary carbon taxes and deficit spending, the Prime Minister now has a tiny 2-month tax trick that will save you 10 cents on a pack of chips, save you a few pennies on a Christmas tree, but only after your Christmas tree is already up and decorated. You'll even save on Halloween costumes 2 months after Halloween. Does he really expect Canadians to fall for this tiny tax trick just before he quadruples the carbon tax on heat, homes, gas, and groceries?
Carbon tax goes up in April.
Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm really glad the Leader of the Opposition started by comparing our economic position with the U.S. Because the fact is, in Canada, inflation is lower. In Canada, interest rates are lower. In Canada, deficits are lower. And in Canada, the public debt is lower. Let's stop talking Canada down. And when it comes to supporting Canadians, what I want to know is, will Conservative MPs be allowed to offer a tax break to their constituents? I know their constituents want it. That's what we're hearing from everyone.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this from a minister who, after finding out that the economy is entering its 6th consecutive quarter of shrinking per capita GDP, that's income per person down, while the American income per person is up. After she learned that there are 2 million people lined up at food banks, 38% more chronic homelessness, 1,400 homeless encampments in Ontario after 9 years of this government. She says we're not in a recession, we're in a vibe session, she says. So what's her message to people who are hungry and homeless after 9 years of her government? They just need to get with the vibe?
Exactly.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, my message to the Leader of the Conservatives is to be a little more economically literate. I guess he didn't look at the recent GDP revisions, the upward revisions in GDP that show a good result for Canada in per capita GDP. They also show that Canada has not had a recession, contrary to the predictions of many when we saw the COVID recession. We have had a soft landing. That's something to celebrate.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, allow me to remind you that the Bloc Québécois' useless measures, apparently, when it came to supply management and seniors, well, the young man who leads the Conservative Party, he voted in favour of those. However, when it comes to purchasing power in Quebec and Canada, there are measures that have been proposed, and there are measures that are going to be accessible to millionaires, and checks are going to be sent to people who, have high revenue, $150,000. Does the government not realize that it's abandoning those who really need help with these measures? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I take the Bloc Québécois' concerns very seriously when it comes to our seniors, and I take them seriously because our government shares those concerns. That is why our government has supported seniors across Canada more than any other federal government. This year, Canadian seniors will get $48 billion in support from the federal government. And that's fair because they deserve it. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the calculation that you have to make is the one that people are making at home. Those who are between 65 and 74 years old in particular, whose purchasing power has not gotten any better for years now, and who are subject to discrimination and who don't have access to the vote-buying checks coming from the Liberal government. But listen, I don't understand how the Liberals supported the NDP to support them on this. I'd like to know how. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to start by clarifying one detail, and that's that I know that there are many seniors who are still working, and those who work will get the checks. I also want to say that I think that we all understand that seniors who are 75 years old and older are more vulnerable. They need more assistance, and that is why our government knows that we need to give them more support.
The honourable member from Burnaby South.
You know what's cruel? The $250 check that's going out in spring, this Liberal government is excluding seniors, people living with disabilities, and people who just started working. What a slap in the face. Why is this Liberal government excluding the most vulnerable in our country?
For the Honourable Minister response, I was going to ask members, please, to not take the floor unless they're recognized, so that everyone can hear the question. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the NDP leader for his question, and I hope he and all members of this House will help work with us to unblock this Parliament and to get the support to Canadians that they need and deserve. When it comes to the Working Canadians rebate, we know that there are hardworking people across the country who have been through challenging times, and we know that now is the time to provide them with that extra support. I hope all MPs will join us in doing that.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South. Workers desperately need help, like seniors, persons with disabilities, and young people who've just got their first job. And yet this government is excluding them from the $250 payment. This is a slap in the face. Can the Liberals explain to the most vulnerable Canadians why they're not supporting them? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to thank the Leader of the NDP for his question. And I hope that he and all members of this House will help us sincerely help Canadians. Our government understands the importance of supporting the most vulnerable, and that's what we've done starting in 2015, and we will continue to do that. Today, we understand that Canada's workers need help, and we are going to help them. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
The NDP leader is giving Canadians whiplash with his latest flip-flop and the flop on the flip. First, he said he tore up his deal with the Liberal government. Then he said that he had taped it back together because they had signed on to his 2-month tax trick. Now he rises on his feet to say that the trick is a ripoff of seniors and persons with disabilities. So then why won't he put his actions where his words are and vote for a carbon tax election so Canadians can choose between this 2-month trick and axing the tax for good?
It will be of no surprise. I'm going to ask the Honourable Member from New Westminster Burnaby, please, not to take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the only inconstant flip-flopper in this House is the Leader of the Official Opposition. For months, he has been talking about how Canadians need a little more support. But it turns out that unless you recite robotically his Dr. Seuss rhymes, he's not going to agree with your approach to helping Canadians. Now is the chance for him and his MPs to actually give Canadians some real support. Let's get together.